Hey everyone, so it really doesn't feel like it's been a year already, but here we are again at the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, and it's back on Microtech at the Tobin Center. So this is the entrance again coming up from the metro, and this year the theme is different. So instead of white and gold, it's blue and white, and it's kind of like sky themed. And I think it fits in better with Microtech as a planet. And you can see this year that the two most recent flyable ships, the Starfighter and the Redeemer, are the ones being highlighted for the expo. And again, like last year, you've got the manufacturer merch stores off to the left and to the right. So you can go ahead in here and pick up merch for your favorite manufacturers, which is nice since we just had that reset, so it's time to stock back up again. Alright, so the elevators actually have the schedule in them this year, which is pretty nice to see, and you can see that today it's going to be Anvil Aerospace. So you can see in the entrance there's another hologram again, and actually you can see me, I'm in the new Grey Cat armor, which I really like. I think it's pretty cool. You can pick it up at pretty much any of the cargo decks, or refinery decks I think. Alright, so here we are in the expo hall, and you can see that that white and blue theme is really being carried on throughout the entire hall. And since this is in the same location, this is pretty much going to be the same exact thing as Anvil Day last year. I got this guy here getting in the way a little bit. You can see the Carrack and some of other Anvil's ships in this main room. There's two side rooms with some other ships, and then downstairs we've got what's actually new this year, which is the Spartan, which we'll get to in a bit. But it's basically an APC built on the chassis of the Ballista, and it's already in game. So I'll have to see in a bit if I can rent that and take it out for a spin, and if I can, I'll have that timestamped below if you just want to see that. But now I'm going to go through all the ships that are here today. Okay, so starting with a very solid ship, we have the Anvil Arrow here. It's a light fighter, and it's known for packing quite a lot of firepower in a small and hard to hit package. Definitely a fun ship to fly around if you haven't gotten the chance to, although this is usually available to rent for a reasonable amount of credits. Off to the right here we have the Pisces. I believe this is the C8X Pisces. Yep, it's got the Expedition skin. This is a sort of starter ship, and it's pretty versatile with a large amount of internal cargo space for a ship this small and 2 jump seats. Then in the middle here we have a fan favorite, the Carrack, and it's even more useful this patch with that med bay, so if you do end up dying you don't have to go all the way back to the station or landing zone to get revived. And beyond that, it's got a whole lot of other features like the hangar, massive cargo space, massive vehicle area, and plenty of exploration features that are going to be super useful once that gameplay loop comes online. Although there might be a competitor for this ship soon from Misk, and I'm really excited to see what that might be. Alright, and then over to the right here we have the Anvil Hurricane. This is another fighter, although it's not a light fighter like the Arrow, and with the new capacitor mechanic, this has become a lot stronger because turrets are just a lot stronger in general. So having that relatively hard to hit target with a lot of sustained damage that that turret gives you makes this a pretty powerful ship if you have 2 people to fly one. Okay, and then the last ship in this main hall is the Gladiator. This is a light bomber, and it's a pretty old ship. It's not necessarily in the best spot because the pilot-controlled weapons aren't that great, and it's hard to justify bringing another person along to man the turret, which also doesn't have a massive amount of firepower, and missiles are just in a somewhat inconsistent state at the moment, but I'm sure at some point it'll get the attention it needs, and at that point it'll be a very useful ship to bring along in your smaller carriers if you need a bomber. Okay, and then off to the right of the main hall, we've got the other 2 display halls. And instead of having the F8 rotating in here like they have had at the other expos, we've got a rotating model of some sort of moon, I think. So I guess we'll start off in Hall 2. I like the wood paneling on this signage here. It looks nice. But yeah, in this hall, we have what looks to be all of the Hornet variants, and there's a lot of them. So starting off, this is the standard variant of the Hornet, just the F7C. It's got the cargo box in the center, and by default only 2 of the hardpoints occupied. But what's great about the Hornets is you can swap out that center box for a turret mount and attach a weapon up front, and it becomes a very solid fighter. It's not the best for PvP because of its overall speed and footprint, but for PvE it brings a lot of firepower, so it's a pretty solid option. Alright, over here we have the Wildfire. This is basically just a Hornet with a built-in livery. Again, like all the other Hornets, you can basically customize the loadout on this to be the same as the other ones, but the red and silver kind of looks cool, and the stock loadout looks to be pretty strong if you can deal with not having much ammo with that Revenant up there, and I doubt those cannons have that much ammo either. Okay, and then heading onto the center here, we have probably the most powerful stock Hornet variant, which is the Super Hornet. And the Super Hornet's actually different from the others in the fact that it has a co-pilot seat, and the co-pilot can take over that top turret. But what's nice is that if you don't have a co-pilot present, the pilot gets to control all the weapons. And again, all of these ships are available to rent for free, so if you want to try any of them out, you can just go ahead and hit that rent button. And I know you'll be able to use it for at least 24 hours. Okay, and then off to the right here is the only Hornet variant that's not really flyable yet, and that's the F7A. This is the military variant of the F7, and although it's not the newest fighter in the F series, I believe these are still in use. But yeah, it's basically just a Hornet with upgraded hardpoints and probably some upgraded components. And you can see that the chassis is actually a bit of a different shape compared to the other Hornets. And some people are lucky enough to own these, so that'll be very cool to see these flying around in the hands of players at some point in the future. But yeah, you can see that it definitely has larger hardpoints than a stock Hornet. This is a Revenant, which is a size 4, and usually you'd only be able to fit it up to a size 3 on those wing hardpoints. Off to the right here, we have two interesting variants. So starting off with the Hornet Ghost, this is basically just your standard Hornet, but with a stock setup that focuses on stealth, and I believe a chassis that also somewhat decreases your overall signature. It also comes stock with this cool black paint job. And then here is the Hornet Tracker. This variant is designed for command and control, and although that's not really in the game yet, at some point having the ability to do that will be very useful in larger fleet battles, being able to coordinate your various fighters. Although this one here seems to be missing the sensor dish that's usually placed in that modular slot that allows it to do that job. Moving on to the other display hall, we'll get to see the rest of Anvil's offerings in here. Okay, so there's just 3 ships in here, and since the Terrapin seems to be having a hard time loading in, let's start off with the F8. So this is the F8 Lightning. It's the successor to the F7 Hornet, and it's the current main heavy fighter of the IAE Navy. You can see it's absolutely covered in weapons, and at the moment you can't own it as a player, although that's going to change when Squadron 42 comes out. But yeah, with how many weapons this thing has, and how maneuverable they are, since they are in-game just in the control of AI pilots, it's going to be a pretty scary ship to go up against. Alright, and then over here we have what's supposed to be the Terrapin, which is a scanning and exploration ship. It usually has a large sensor dish up top and a scanning station on the inside, and it's meant for sort of long distance scouting ahead while still being a very durable ship for its size, although this one doesn't seem to have been that durable to have ended up in this state. So yeah, I'm not sure why this isn't showing up. It could just be my game. But also at the moment the ship doesn't have a ton of functionality, so it's not a massive deal if you're not able to rent it, which I can't seem to find the spot to be able to do that. Okay, and then I think the last ship that we're going to look at today is the Valkyrie. This is an all-around great drop ship. It's got a lot of space for medium-sized vehicles and a ton of drop seats for troops, as well as multiple entry and exit points like these side ones here and the ramp at the rear, and a ton of turrets to provide cover to your troops as you're unloading them, or air support once you've unloaded everyone. So yeah, you can see it's got cool features like these turrets that are mounted off to the sides of doors, and a ton of drop seats since that's on both sides. This is another fan favorite sort of ship, and if you have people to man the turrets, you can have some fun flying it around doing some combat missions, or even do some of those new bunker missions, as long as you're patient for the NPCs to spawn. Alright, now let's move on to the downstairs, where I think we'll be able to see some vehicles and some holos of upcoming ships. Alright, so downstairs, right off to our right, we have the Ballista. This has already been in the game, and it's a powerful anti-aircraft vehicle. It's got a sizable turret up top, and a large array of missiles for a land vehicle. It's a bit bulky and difficult to bring places, but once you do get it in place, you can really deny a space from a lot of ships. Since I believe these are size 5 missiles, I could be wrong on that, they might be slightly bigger, but whatever they are, they can deal with ships up to like Freelancer size pretty well, and even light fighters in atmosphere are going to have a hard time dodging missiles. So yeah, if you're getting locked onto by one of these, don't take it lightly. It's probably going to hit you, and if it's one of those size 5s, that's going to be a lot of damage coming your way. Okay, now what's new here though is another vehicle that's built on that same platform of the Ballista, and you can see that it's got an obvious visual resemblance to it, and I think a lot of people have been wanting this, especially since the tank came out. We hadn't really had a great armored personnel carrier, but this is the perfect vehicle for it now. So you still keep that turret, but you lose the missile launcher, although that has translated to the price being much lower for this thing. Alright, so yeah, this is the Spartan. At the rear you've got 8 drop seats. So you're packing a pretty good amount of people in a vehicle that's not all that big. And then up in the front here, you have, instead of one entrance and the other side being sealed off, you have 2 exits. You have 3 ways for troops to get out of this vehicle, and that definitely could be useful if you're being rushed and you want to deploy them as quickly as possible. I'm not seeing any weapons racks, so this is probably something that's meant to be for much shorter ranges than you'd have in a troop carrying ship or something like that. I think everyone's supposed to be equipped by the time that they're getting into this vehicle. And then up at the front here, you have the lockable driver's area. There's a lot of space in this area, but that's because you have most of the components accessible up here. And it looks like you even have a little bit of an inventory in this vehicle, which is nice to see with the new inventory changes. But yeah, this thing is much more reasonably priced than the Ballista, and while I don't think it's a great idea to pick up vehicles for real currency, if you intend to upgrade it, I think the War Bond upgrade that they have going now is similar to what they did with the Nomad, where it comes with lifetime insurance even as an upgrade. So if you are looking to getting a ship that's more expensive than the Spartan here, that can be a great way to get some lifetime insurance on whatever vehicle that might be. And if you don't even know, you can pick up a CCU from something like a 300i to this for $5 and just keep that around for in the future and just kind of insert that into your CCU chains. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting and should be a useful vehicle, and it definitely helps round out Star Citizen's variety of vehicles. And we're getting to the point where there should be something suited for any task that you need a vehicle for, especially since there aren't many of those at the moment. Alright, and then for this last part here, let's head into the Holo Viewer Hall. Okay, so here we have the Liberator, and this is the recently announced transport/carrier ship. So I don't completely remember at the moment when we've been told to expect this thing, but this looks like a pretty rough model right here, so I don't think it's going to be super soon. But yeah, if you didn't have a good idea of what this looked like from the sale information, you can come and check it out here in game. And here's that description if you wanted to see it. Alright, and that looks to be the only Holoviewer model for today. Okay, so that looks like it's going to be it for the Expo haul today, but we should be back tomorrow with RSI. I don't think we're expecting anything new from them, but if you want to check out some of the constellations, like the Constellation Phoenix, which is pretty fun, that should be here tomorrow. So now I'm going to go see if we can check out this Spartan. Alright, so I just came over to the spaceport here, but you can probably do this at the Commons, and hopefully we're going to be able to check out the new Spartan. Well, unfortunately it looks like rented vehicles are getting delivered to your home residence, which I have set as Lorville. I rented a few ships, so I actually want to go and check and see if that's the case. Yeah, it looks like if you don't have your permanent residence set as New Babbage, whatever ships that you rent at the Expo are going to be delivered to whatever your permanent residence is. So I flew here in the Starfighter, but the Carrack and Super Hornet that I rented actually showed up in Lorville. So that's a little annoying. Hope they can do a hotfix or something to fix that. But yeah, I guess be aware if your permanent residence is not New Babbage, you're going to have to claim anything that you're trying to rent. Alright, here we go. Here's the Spartan. I guess let's enter through the rear. I want to see how this opens up. I know the one on the Ballista kind of smacks down, so you got to be careful if you're standing underneath it. That's a more reasonable opening, I guess. Here you go, you can see we've got 2 Scorpion GT215s up top, and since this is not a Ballista, we have 0 missiles. And while driving this thing around, it seems pretty similar to what you'd expect from a Ballista, but you'll just be able to have 8 of your buddies in the back instead of a bunch of missiles. And here you go, you can see what it looks like. Unfortunately, the weather doesn't seem to be wanting to cooperate, so you're going to have to deal with a little bit of snow. But yeah, not a bad looking vehicle. Definitely looks quite rugged. I'm sure someone will do some durability tests, but I imagine it'll be similar to the Ballista. And vehicle durability and explosions are definitely something that need to be tuned because, first of all, vehicles seem to kind of destroy themselves when they're going over bumps and whatnot. Like the suspension doesn't react that well to it. And then also I've seen tons of videos where a vehicle explosion will detonate a much larger ship. But yeah, I mean, with physicalized damage, that won't be as much of an issue going forward, and it's definitely going to get changed. With the turret, looks like we have access by pressing this button over here. Obviously, we're in an armistice zone here, so we're not going to be able to fire it, but you've got a pretty reasonable firing arc, and you'll be able to provide a lot of cover for your troops as you're loading and unloading them. Okay, so it looks like this is similar to the Ursa, and then in that the driver can control the turret while they're just driving around, since I'm getting that message there. And you'll be able to either lock it in the forward position if you don't want to be moving that around, or unlock it to use it as you're driving. I do kind of wish one of the drop seats could have a remote turret screen to be able to control it if you wanted to be able to drive while having someone man that turret, but at least you can control it while you're driving, just with a more limited firing arc. And then I guess I was slightly wrong earlier about this not having any weapons racks. It does have one, but this is really only enough room for the driver here. Although it was very dark earlier. But yeah, now with the lights on, you can get a little bit of a better view of what's in here. I guess that's just decoration there. And then basically just these jump seats. And that's about it. But again, that's really all you need. And that's nice. You even got little windows, which I couldn't really see earlier. And then yeah, you got the 2 side exits that you can use near the front. You got components up here, and then this storage area. Not a ton of space. Looks like it's about 10 backpacks worth, but that should be enough to store some medical supplies, ammo, and some weapons even. So definitely better than nothing. Alright, so with that, I'm going to wrap this up for today. Again, we've got RSI tomorrow, and I'll be doing a video on that, getting it out as soon as I can. And as for the sale, there's a War Bond upgrade available for the Carrack, which is a pretty good deal if you're looking to pick up a Carrack. But the real deal today is going to be picking up some of those $5 CCUs to the Spartan if you plan on getting ships in the future and you want to have LTI on those. That's going to be a really easy way to do that. And other than that, there's not a ton today from Anvil that isn't available super regularly. But yeah, if you're looking for like a Valkyrie or something like that, then they should be available for the whole rest of the IAE, so you'll have time to decide on those. Alright, so now I want to thank my members, GreatWatch93 and Starjump Starlet. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, and if you guys want to help me out, you can do that by hitting the like button, subscribing, or even hitting the join button to become a member yourself, and I really appreciate all you guys' support. So I hope you guys enjoy the expo, and thanks for watching.